in from Mexico because he had some medical problems and couldn't be here. I hope you're okay. Um, it's Israel Rodriquez Nava. He's the president of the Mexican
Hello, can you hear me now?
and he's going to talk almost about the culture of Go. I'll just leave it at that. So, okay.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Hey.
Well, good morning. My name is Israel Rodriguez. I am president of the Mexican Go Association and treasurer of the Ibero-American Go Federation, which groups 13 Latin American countries and Spain. Before I start, I would like to thank the organizers of this symposium for the opportunity to participate, and I deeply regret not being able to be here to be with you right now. My presentation is called Cultural Considerations in the Spread of Go in Western Countries. Now, I would like to narrow the scope of this presentation, as I know its title is perhaps a little bit too general. In this talk, I will present some general reflections on common issues I find important to consider in the spread of Go in our countries. Of course, each country has its peculiarities that would require an independent research, but certainly there are several common factors that can contribute valuable findings in order to raise awareness of Go in our respective countries. I will begin with a brief assessment of Go's historical development. Later, I will review some theories of the slow diffusion in the West, and finally, I will discuss some of the difficulties facing the spread of the game in today's world. Now, I think everyone here, or should I say there, knows very well that Go is the best game ever created. However, in most Western countries, Go remains widely unknown. It is a common scene that while playing in public, people look curiously at the board and ask us, what game is this? How is it played? But especially, is it like chess? If we review the available statistics, the number of people who know chess is huge. According to the Chess in the Olympics campaign, 605 million people worldwide know how to play chess. 285 million of them play on the internet, and 7.5 million are formally registered in an association. Go, on the other hand, is said to have an estimated 25 million players worldwide. Of course, these statistics are problematic, to say the least, as they do not provide information on the methodology with which they were obtained. It appears that those numbers are more a product of speculation than a properly conducted study. As a matter of fact, chess statistics were strongly criticized within the chess community for its lack of intellectual rigor. However, even if these figures are only an speculation or even if they have other agendas, nobody can deny that in the West pretty much every single person knows of chess, and not much fewer know the rules even if they do not play regularly. This is easy to understand because chess is part of Western cultural imaginary as the quintessential intellectual game. Let's look more closely at the statistics for Go. According to some figures, from those 25 million, 24 million or 96% of the players are from Asia, and only 1 million or 4% are Western players. To be honest, I don't think these figures will surprise anyone. One of the most common explanations attribute this inequality to the late arrival of Go in the West. However, according to historical evidence, the first description of Go to reach the West dates from 1615, from the reports of the travels of Jesuit missionary Matteo Ricci. However, this description did not contain enough information to play. This description and several that were based on it actually did generate interest in important intellectuals such as Leibniz, who tried to decipher the purpose and rules of the game based on the available descriptions. However, it was not until 250 years later, in 1875, that British sinologist Herbert Giles published the first complete description of the rules available in the West. In that very description, he offers us an explanation for this delay in the spread of Go in the West. If anything, he says, it was meant that the sole means of communication being the Chinese language, too great difficulty would be experienced by the teacher in making the intricacies of the game sufficiently clear to the learner. For inasmuch as only educated men know Wei Qi, and no educated man can speak a word of English. The alternative would be a pidgin English speaking servant, and then it would be necessary first to make him understand the principles he was undertaking to explain. By then, chess was already widely known and widely positioned as the ultimate intellectual game, because from the mid 17th century it had begun to spread outside the noble classes in Europe. Considering this, Go has been known in the West, with its rules, for over 130 years. However, the growth of the players is still low compared to the development of chess or other similar games. Another explanation for this has focused on the qualities of Go, which they consider a game that reflects Eastern strategic and philosophical thought, which, in theory, would hinder their assimilation by the Western character. However, this hypothesis is weakened by if we consider that, for example, in China, Chinese chess, or Qianqi, is more played than Go. Even some statistics say Qianqi is the most played game in the world. Qianqi bears many similarities to Western chess, and according to several theories, share the same origin. Therefore, if Qianqi is so similar to Western chess, it should have trouble being accepted by Chinese players, who then should feel more affinity for Go. Another interesting phenomenon to analyze at this point is the great popularity baseball has acquired in Japan, despite being a modern sport of American origin. We could also talk about the expansion of the practice of martial arts around the world, despite martial arts largely maintain its original philosophy and even lexicon, yet they have enjoyed wide acceptance in the Western world. Certainly, we can assume that there are other external factors that have hindered the development of Go in the West that have little to do with its origin and intrinsic characteristics. Let's go back to review another period in Go history. Go was, for much of its history, like chess, a game that was mainly reserved for the upper classes. As we saw, this itself was a factor that hindered its transmission to the West in the early commercial travels by Europeans to China. However, chess began expanding among the general population in the late 17th century, long before Go did so in Japan, which begins its modernization stage until the Meiji period in the mid 19th century. The modernization of Go, and thus their expansion out of the noble classes, was a long and complex process that culminated in the founding of the Nihon Ki in 1923. The American Go Association, for example, was to be founded only 12 years later, in 1935. With this evidence, we have to ask ourselves why, with almost the same time of founding, Go is still widely known in Japan, but it is still not so known in America. Go boards are also clear evidence of this. A traditional Go band clearly was not intended to be carried around to play during lunch. Despite being restricted to the upper classes, Go did spread rapidly in Asian countries as it was a tradition and a fundamental part of their culture. It was a well-known and highly appreciated game. Thus, we reach a point where we find Go and chess competing for the same title of intellectual game per excellence. It is indisputed that chess is an inseparable part of Western culture. We can spot it in pretty much all kinds of cultural products, from books to movies. All Westerners know what it is and place him clearly as a game of intellect. However, are its qualities really appreciated by the people? Stuart Rachels, the youngest chess master in American history, begs to differ and writes, "If you want to define a character as a nerd, mention that he is a chess player. If you want a movie, book, or play to do badly, even a good one, center it around chess." Naturally, this varies from country to country, but we can confidently say that chess is not exactly seen as cool. Is that wrong? Of course not, but it is a factor to consider if we want to spread Go. Young people tend to seek social acceptance, so it is very important to try not to make Go uncool as much as possible. Nothing hinders more the further dissemination of something as to make it look as difficult, solemn, serious, or in a word, boring. Returning to the Go, to the Go, sorry, returning to the Go world, a few months ago, In his column in Go Weekly, Chochi-kun wrote, "To play Go, a certain degree of intelligence is required. This is a weak point of the game that can be described as fatal. Years ago, the quintessential game in Japan was shogi. Shogi is as deep as Go, but differs in that you can start playing as soon as you learn the rules. Before, it was common that if someone knew how to play shogi, at some point he would be interested in Go. Now, shogi was replaced by video games that do not produce the potential player's flaw. Video games, which can be enjoyed with so little effort, are the opposite of Go. As we can see, Cho's diagnosis is equally pessimistic than Rachel's. I am sure more than one of you has found a young Korean, Chinese, or Japanese referring to Go as a game for old people. We find ourselves at a point on which modern society does not show much interest in activities such as Go, coupled with difficulties in their dissemination in the West. What possible ways can be followed? In recent years, the use and promotion of the term mind sport has caused some controversy. Many criticize the intention of comparing games like Go or chess to sports, to the point of considering it as a ridiculous attempt to enjoy the same recognition modern sports get. We cannot deny the obvious differences between a game like Go and sports, the main one being the lack of physical activity. All sports have physical activity in common as a fundamental part of their practice. This fact, associated with the idea of a healthier lifestyle, makes playing sports a desirable activity, and this is obviously something mind sports do not have. It is also clear that in modern society, the physical body is privileged over the mind. A sport champion is more famous than a Nobel laureate. However, according to sports historian Alan Goodman, both mind sports and proper sports share the same origin, play, and the only thing that separates them is physical activity. Many sports have been consolidated, despite having significant barriers such as requiring expensive specialized equipment, the need of a special court, or belonging to a particular culture. What lessons can we learn from their successes? Two main lessons in general we get from them is that they all meet Goodman's criteria to be considered modern sports, and its spreading strategies are multidimensional. Not only they expand by sending coaches to other parts of the world, but also seeking to ensure equipment availability and economic self-sufficiency of national associations. According to Goodman, the criteria to be considered a modern sports are: first, secularism, meaning not being related to the realm of the sacred transcendent; equality, meaning everyone, including the elderly and the handicapped, is admitted to the game on the basis of his or her ability, and the rules must be the same for all contestants; specialization, meaning it is clearly differentiated from similar sports; bureaucratization, meaning it has local, regional, national, and international institutions that administer the activities and competition; rationalization, meaning standardized equipment, facilities, and revised rules; quantification, meaning it's scorable with numbers; and finally, obsession with records. Uh, I think it's clear that going that Go development currently fails in some of these criteria, especially in bureaucratization, where different associations have different levels of strength, and and also because in rationalization, because there are different sets of rules. Finally, uh, for we should review the ways we spread God to make sure not to alienate people. This is an important but very difficult topic. We must also work on consolidating and strengthening regional and national associations. It is essential to increase the awareness of the game. We cannot be sure that knowing knowing of Go, people will want to play it, but we can be certain that if they don't know that Go exists, they will not want to play it. We must also build structures equivalent to those of modern sports, especially as it is now that Go is also looking to be included or recognized as an Olympic sport. Go is very little known in the West. This gives us the opportunity to build a less formal and more friendly image for the game than chess actually has. We can make Go uh, to be known as a game that is fun. We can make Go to be known as a game that is easy to learn, and we can also make Go to be known as a game that everyone can play. Uh, this is something that chess is not known for, and this is something that we should exploit in order to gain more players. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward for your questions.
Thank you very much. It was hard to connect, but I'm glad that we did. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, well, thank you very much. Okay, good.
I was just wondering your perspective on intercultural teaching, on how can two people, how can a teacher teach a student where they don't have a common language? I've actually taught a young Korean child of about 5 or 6, and I didn't know Korean, and he didn't know English. And I just kind of mimed and showed.
That's interesting.
But my question is more towards older kids
Well, wait, did he learn it?
He learned enough to do capture, and he was real excited when he showed his, I got this stone. My question is really about how do you, where do you find materials, and what maybe what approaches might you have had towards teaching people of different languages?
That Go has a quality that it is very unique. I think the rules are pretty easy to be explained without the use of words, and so it's very helpful for a situation like the one you're talking about. Also, I do think that Go has many perspectives that you can tackle. You can view Go as a philosophical way. You can view Go as a simple game. You can view Go as a mean to create communication between people. So I've always thought that it is very important to know the audience you will be talking to, and we should exploit these different aspects of Go, so we can so we can better adapt the way of teaching to the students. Especially because for some people, if you tell them about the philosophical aspects of Go, they will immediately fall in love with the game. However, there are other people that if you talk about philosophical aspects, they will probably be suspicious or something. You know? So I think there is no single way to teach Go, and especially in intercultural teaching, I think the best way is to let the game to create the communication between the teacher and the student. The game itself, I think, will establish the way the student communicates with the teacher, finding I don't know any way if they don't speak the same language, maybe with signs or maybe just by playing. I don't know. I think in that case, the game can be a great tool to kickstart communication.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I have a question. A couple of years ago, I was teaching in high school. I live off in New Mexico. Oh, a few years ago, I was teaching some high school students in a class in New Mexico, southern New Mexico, where there's no culture of game playing at all. Las Cruces, New Mexico. And it's south. It's about an hour north of El Paso, so it's in the middle of the desert. There's a university there, but as far as the kids go, they've got the mall and that's about it. And what I found is that they weren't reacting really to me when I was trying to teach out of a book or show it, but I got onto YouTube and took some YouTube things down there, and instantly they were attentive. It's just that new culture. You know, they're used to the iPhones and all of this, and bang, you know, they were, ooh, like this. So I'm just thinking, I mean, YouTube, they've got a whole bunch of I don't know what you call them, shorts, longs, but they're, some of them are very good. And I'm just wondering if, you know, you could take advantage of that at all.
Yes, I think in that case there are also different factors. One factor could be a sort of distrust, maybe, towards a stranger. And maybe the video in YouTube helped to ease the communication and gain trust. There are obviously some social issues or problems that we cannot expect to easily overcome, especially in such specific scenarios. Um, but then again, I think, or I don't know if the game actually served as a way to gain their trust and to start communication with them, and maybe later keep teaching without the need of any technological tool.
Right, but I was just also, I wanted to add, like, the jump then to electronic Go. In other words, back in the 70s when, and the, you know, the 80s when the internet's just started to come, we thought that was the death of Go, as being a feudal game and out the window, and suddenly bang, you know. And those kids made the jump from YouTube to playing, you know, on the internet very well. They didn't do so well just playing on real Go. It was kind of strange.
Well, yes, that's also true. I think internet has helped to spread Go a great deal, uh, but that also makes me wonder why a technological tool was required to for the people to get hooked to the game. I mean,
Well, their whole life is technology at this point.
yes, of course, it is a tool that we should use, especially as well. Some people think that Go players are usually not very social persons, and so I think internet is a great tool for not social persons to communicate with others. So I think. That's something that we can find in Western players that we don't find in Asia. In Asia, you find all kinds of players. Uh, you find players that like mathematics. You find players that are cab drivers. Uh, I think that shows that in the West, somehow the game keeps being an elite game. It's usually played in universities or by highly educated people, especially mathematicians, engineers, programmers, and that's okay. I'm not saying that's there's
Oh, I'm
anything
not
bad
saying
with that,
it's
but
just another tool. That's all I was going to say. You know, that's.
it just continues to segregate other kinds of players.
Well, the reason it goes, you know, I've done a lot of history, and it Go has survived because it's been adopted by every major, you know, in China, every major group, you know, it would adopt it and it would just change. And now here we are, you know, as we are. And I'm old style, but I'm beginning to see that, you know, in the future, it's going to be this electronic part is going to be part of the spread of the culture. So anyway, anything else? Sure.
Hello. Hi. My name is Amy Handelsman. I'm the executive director of the United States Mind Sport Association. I couldn't tell if you agreed with Al Goodman's thesis about a game being a sport or different than sport, what your personal view is.
Well, my personal view is that a game can be considered a mind sports. A mind. I mean, it is if we that depends of how specific we define a sport. If a sport we require to be some sort of physical exercise, then obviously a board game will never be a sport. But if we want to to how to say it? I mean, both sports and games, board games, are leisure activities, and they serve no purpose other than be played. So exactly for that, I think that both can be called sports, and for different reasons, board games have been separated and considered as different activities than sports. Sports actively seek to create institutions and to create different structures. Uh, to I mean, to have the Olympics and to have all kinds of sports events we have right now, and to make to make money, to be able to support different competitions, and to be able to practice sports professional, or what kind of sports it is. But then again, the sport keeps being a leisure activity, even if it's a profession. And the same goes for board games as chess or Go. There are also professional players that make a living out of it, and it keeps being a leisure activity. And there are a lot of people that practice the game just for leisure. And the same goes with sports. So exactly for that, I do agree that both can be called sports.
I do too. I wasn't clear from your talk. I have one other question, which is that I learned Go recently, and I was one of the people that was very attracted to the philosophy of it and the metaphors. And I'm just wondering, culturally, if a big impediment for the West, or particularly America, has to do with a lack of appreciation of the subtlety and the amorphousness and the patience involved. We glorify American football, and I think chess can be viewed as something that's really more about getting the guy, and there is capture involved in Go, but it's really not. It's really much deeper and subtler than that. So, do you think that there will ever, even if we make the best efforts to spread Go in this culture, do you think it will have the same kind of impact that another mind sport would have, like poker or chess?
Well, I don't think. I mean, I would dare to pose the hypothesis that Go can have the same status chess has. But also, I don't think that chess has the best of the statuses it can have. It can, yes. So I agree with Stuart Rachel's, uh, you know, not being so recognized as he wished it was. I think the first step in the West would be to reach the same level of awareness, and later we can pursue to have the same prestige as in Asia. But then again, I think that Go has to um, uh, to lose a little bit of that solemnity, not because there's anything bad with that, but if we want to have more players, we have to stop looking at Go like such a cultural commodity, so to speak. Uh, because exactly a lot of people will not be attracted to it. There are, of course, a lot of people that I don't know, that like yoga and that like Asian philosophy and Taoism and several philosophies from the East. But there are also a lot of people that look at it as I don't know, like some sort of new age stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should balance in a good way the way we spread Go. Uh, Again, I think for some people, telling them about the philosophy of Go will make them be interested in playing Go. But for some other people, they will only care about I don't know, a board game that is still not outplayed by computers or something like that. So I think we must exploit all of that aspects of Go if we want to reach a broader audience.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay.
Hi, Israel. Terry Benson here. Do you think there are what do you think the differences are between Mexico and America, if you see any differences, or if you're aware of any differences in terms of the issues that you were talking about, which are all very general, but do you think there are any specific changes or differences?
That's good.
Yes, I think one of the specific differences between America and not only Mexico in particular, but maybe in Latin America in general, uh, it, I feel that in America, people have more time to spend with their hobbies, so to speak, or with activities other than work. And I feel that in Latin America, we either don't have that much time, or we either don't have enough money like to spend in a hobby or in a extracurricular activity or something like that, or we are simply not interested, and that's something very sad. There are other differences that are related with the economic development, like the level of education of the average Mexican or Latin American is obviously lower than in America. So I think that's an extra obstacle we have to face. However, I don't think that Go cannot be taught in outside of the universities or to people that are not exactly as educated as most Western players are. Um, I think there's like a big opportunity to prove this in Latin America and in Mexico in particular.
Good. Anybody else? Okay. Oh, one more. That's fine. We got time before lunch. So.
Buenos dias, muchas gracias. I'm thinking in the United States, for many years, every university has had graduate students from mainly China or Korea bringing Go to us, Wei Chi or Paduk. Is there a significant Asian immigration demographic in Latin America?
Well, it varies country to country. For instance, in Japan, there are a lot of, in Japan, I mean, in Brazil, there are a lot of Japanese. In Mexico, there are a lot of, well, there's a big Chinese community. Recently, also, the Korean community has been growing. However, it began as immigrants that came to, I don't know, to do business, and mostly only worked. And just recently, we have some exchange students, or you know, the sons of those immigrants in the universities. However, we have a particular phenomenon. There's one player that teaches Go in in a school for foreigners, and so has been teaching Go to Japanese students because Japanese students actually knew of Go. They knew what it was, but they didn't know how to play it because again, it was a game that was played by their grandpas or the elderly. So it's a curious phenomenon.
Okay. Muchas gracias.
Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you, and get well soon, okay?